Living pain here. Hope all is well. What to report? First thing, I'm down, I think, zero point 0.4 of a pound, so 204.6. The worst part of it, though, is I was down to 199.6 2 weeks ago. And although 4 pounds doesn't seem like a lot, I look at myself in the mirror this morning and I was like, oh man, it's a little flabby and it doesn't seem like a lot, but you don't realize how much actually 5 pounds is. And then to gain 5 pounds in like a 2-week period is, it just shows how crazy things are. And I go, man, if I can gain 4 or 5 pounds in 2 weeks, can I take it off in 2 or 3 weeks? Or why did it come up with 3? It's 2 weeks. If I could gain it in 2 weeks, can I take it off in 2 weeks? The answer is probably. The answer is, the better question is, do I have what it takes to take these 4 pounds off in 2 weeks? And that's the $1 million question, because what it takes is discipline, determination, sacrifice, self-torture. It's so yeah, the answer is yeah, it can be done. The question is, can I do it? And the thing that's motivating me, well, I shouldn't say it's motivating me. So even today, yesterday and today were 2 good days. So yesterday, I went, did an hour and 10-minute run. Today I've eaten well, about 1,700 calories, barring, what time is it? 8:45, so as long as I don't snack or anything. And then I went out for an hour and 10-minute bike ride today outside, which is awesome. So the weather here is just crazy warm. It's it's warmer than usual. So it was 19 Celsius. I don't know what that is, probably like 64 Fahrenheit, somewhere in there, and maybe 68. So, and it was windy as heck, like crazy windy, unbelievable windy. And so windy that when I got out on my bike, and I could feel the wind, which, yeah, that's fine. Then I got to a stop, or to a lights, and I was on this corner and I'm on the lights, and normally you have one foot on the pedal, the other on the ground, and you're just waiting for the light to turn. And the wind was getting so bad, it was starting to blow me over. So I had to take both feet out and straddle my bike. It was that windy. And of course, this was the first outdoor ride of the year. And I'm like, when you just sometimes have a bad feeling, you're like, man, it's so windy. And there's certain parts on the bike ride where I have to go down some hills. And it was 4 o'clock when I left, which is kind of a little bit of a dangerous time to go, because that's when people are coming home from work. Really bad time to go is around 5 o'clock. So, so I'm like nervous. It's first bike ride. It's super windy outside. Traffic's a little busy. And of course, against all of that, I decide what's going to be better, riding my bike outside or riding it inside on the train or doing Zwift. And as much as the wind and all that stuff is bad, it's mind numbing, just riding a bike indoors. So sure enough, get the bike off the trainer, pump up all the tires, get everything going, go out on this ride, and I'm having a great ride. I was laughing at myself. I go, this is my first ride of the year, but it was probably my best ride of last year. And it was also interesting because I follow guys on Strava that I know who do cycling. And these guys, if you don't know what Strava is, it's when you go for a run or a bike or whatever, it keeps track of, the route you did. It's got a map and, how long it took you and what your average speed was and all this sort of stuff. And so what I felt when I got back, I looked at my average speed and it was like 27.3 kilometers an hour, which is not so much of the time I was well over 37k, but then you're riding into that headwind and it's taking you to a stop. My point being is there's guys that live around me and live in Ontario, and they went out for rides today, and all of us were within I was at 27.3, another guy was 27.3, another guy was 27.4, I think. So we're all, right near each other in terms of time. And what I thought was great was I know who these guys are, and one of them in particular just lives around the corner. He's a really good cyclist. Guy rides every single day. That's where I actually met him, was when I was in really great shape, and my bike riding was pretty amazing, if I don't say so myself. Mind you, I worked out 16 to 20 hours a week, so 7-8 hour bike rides, you better get decent. So anyway, this guy, although I was decent, then I went down, this guy's always been decent. And so I looked at his time today. He just happened to ride, and all the guys were complaining about the wind and stuff like that. And actually, I like the wind. I'll get to that in a minute. And I was right there with him, and I thought, man, I'm improving from last year. I couldn't even hold their jock strap, and now to at least on my first ride of the year, it's just a testament to losing weight. I've been exercising, since last April, man, 320 days, since almost every day, 30 hours a month typically. This is the first month for March that, because I've taken some time off to let myself, not be injured. I'm going to be doing, I think it'll be around 19 or 20 hours for this month. So all the rest were like 30, 32 hours. Anyway, it just, where I'm going with it is it's one of those wins that you go, man, that's great. I actually thought I was going a lot faster, but anyway, when I got back and I saw these other guys' times were right within a 2-inch putt of each other, I thought that's great. In terms of the wind, everyone was, posting how bad the wind was and stuff like that. And I have a quick story, is riding a bike in the wind, not a lot of people like it. I know I didn't like it. And I used to ride, this was years ago, I lived in Winnipeg, that's where I was born and raised. And Winnipeg is notorious. It's very windy. It's the prairies. It's flat. And, there's no hills, but the wind would be so bad that we called them prairie hills. And I had a friend of mine, Dale Dirksen, he was just a beast at riding into the wind. And when we go ride with him, he was just such an animal riding into it. And then, of course, we would go in behind his slipstream so we wouldn't feel the wind. And I remember saying to him one day, I said, Dale, how the heck are you so good at riding into the wind? And he said to me, Brian, what I didn't like it at one point, but what I did was I kept telling myself every time it was windy, I'd get on the bike and I would say, I love the wind, I love the wind, I love the wind. And that would be my mantra for the whole bike ride. And guess what? Eventually, I liked riding in the wind. So I'm like, okay. So I start doing it, and every time the wind would come, I'd be, I love the wind, I love the wind. I think it took 3 years, and no joke, 3 years, and now I love riding into the wind, or riding in the wind. It doesn't bother me at all. Although today it was a little bit scary because you go over bridges, and the wind is so heavy that it could push you right over the railing. It was at that point. I think that, and I've had winds. One of the worst I had was when I was in Hawaii doing the Hawaiian Kona Ironman, and there's up near Hawaii, it's very windy coming off, and I remember seeing others and myself, you're in there and you're basically, the wind is almost blowing you over. It was a very brief, maybe a kilometer or two, maybe longer. It could have been. It was probably longer because it was pretty scary. So I know how bad the wind could be, and when I was going over the bridges today, I was, making sure I was farther away. And then, because if the wind came, I wasn't going to ride to where I would just crash. So I already had my crash plans done. And then talking about crashing, I'm almost home, literally, half a kilometer, a street and a half over from my house. And I come to a stop sign. I don't know what happened. Some cars are coming, a little nervous. So I slam on my brakes, and my back wheel basically dislodges out of my out of the whatever the holders are, whatever they call them. And it was like, oh man, because I had it in the basement, I hadn't tightened everything up. And then I was thinking, geez, I got lucky. What if I had to hit the brakes on a downhill or something like that? So I really averted disaster today on my bike ride. With that said, got her done, and I feel good. I'm right now I'm kind of burning up too, so all night, it kind of get on a bike ride and it gets that furnace going, and it's burning calories and all that sort of good stuff. Not a bonk state. If you do a lot of training, you know what a bonk state is, where you're just totally flush and you're right out of it. You need food, that sort of thing. But it was good to get that done. It's the second day, like I say, where I'm on track. It's hard right now. I almost want to say I'm on day 2 of my weight loss journey, because it's like I'm starting over. And I think it's April. I guess in five days or so, 5 or 6 days, it'll be a full year that I've been doing this. So, but it does feel like I'm starting over. Yet at the same time, I'm on YouTube, right? That's what I do all the time, and I'm flipping through, and because I subscribe to my own channel, sometimes some of the videos will come up, and I have this one video that I did last year when I started doing the insanity workout, and it's a split screen. I did day 1 and then I did day 15 just to see what the improvement, and every time they did a fit test, I would videotape it, and then I'd have side by side what I was doing. And Alice first of all, I looked at it and I said, oh, look at that. I can't believe it. I have 793 views of that video, which surprised me. And then the other thing is, looking at the picture, Alice looked at it and you go, man, you look way different than when you did that a year ago. And of course, my head looked different, because when COVID hit, I thought, geez, I think it'll be funny as a joke to shave my head. But I didn't shave my head initially right off. What I did was I shaved it like a toilet bowl, like the old school. You see guys get bald and they leave the sides and all that. So I did that, and I wanted to see what it looked like. And then after I did that and did the pictures, I ended up shaving it all off. So these pictures of me doing the insanity workout, I have, it shows actually 15 days of hair growth. So the first, slide showing day 1, it's, basically down to the wood, and then it's a little bit higher the next day. And I remember doing it because when I finished them, I put a video together of it, and I showed Allison Reed, my son, my wife, and they just couldn't stop laughing, because, and if you are on the channel, it's there, it's under the insanity playlist, and they were just like laughing, like, I was totally uncoordinated, my gut's in the way, I'm totally dying, all the rest of that stuff. Although it gave me a chance. I just looked at it and I reflected in that just brief second, and it was just like, okay, you've made some gains. Do you want to go back to that guy? And it's like, nah, not really. Yet the challenge for me is, I like the partying, and that's my Achilles heel. I like to drink beer, have a good time, and the problem is when I do that, it becomes a bit of a slippery slope, because it's okay, I was doing it for a long time, just 1 day a week, kind of let go. And then it becomes, as it gets warmer out, whatever, you start having pressures, stress in your life. You start, one day becomes 2 days, becomes 3 days. And in this last 2 weeks, it's been, man, almost 2 weeks. I bet you in 2 weeks there was only 3 or 4 days that I didn't have a beer. We didn't go out. And then you go to restaurants, stuff like that. So as much as I feel like I've made a lot of gains, and seeing that video really reaffirmed to me, like, okay, you've done some good things. It's still like, you could slide down and go back to where you were, and now, you only have 4 pounds to lose to get back to where you were 2 weeks ago. Or do you want to gain 4 pounds and then have 8 pounds to gain back? So today, that was one of the things where I was ready to eat something, and it was like, oh, dude. And you know what I did? It was, I'm going to use this as a technique. I just realized this. Whenever because I came upstairs, and what I do is, for mental, is I work from home, so I have my work clothes. And then when work's over, I come upstairs and I change, so that it kind of, in a weird way, it makes it seem like, I'm not working from home, and, it's that just changes it up. It's my little trick that I play in my mind. So when I came up, I was thinking about food. And we have mirrors, like, where I take my shirt off, and then I grab another shirt, and there's a mirror there. And I just took a look in the mirror, and I was like, dude, look at your little love handles are growing there, all the rest. And it was at that moment that I just was like, nah, I don't think I need that food. So now I'm thinking, and maybe I've never heard of this technique. Maybe it's the living pain technique. I think every time that I want to eat something, I should just take my shirt off and go in front of a mirror. At home, it'll be okay. Now, when I'm out at a restaurant, that'd be probably pretty odd. Someone walking in and seeing me in front of a mirror in the bathroom with no shirt on, looking at myself. And I know it sounds funny, like, yeah, I'd actually do it. I would actually do it if that's what it took for me not to order that plate of nachos or whatever. It depends. If I had a couple of beers, I definitely would do it. But anyway, that it saved me some calories today. What else to report? Every day is a struggle, and it's just fighting it day by day by day to just try to stay on the straight and narrow. Really happy that I've got 2 days back to back now. An hour and 10 run, hour and 10 on the bike. So I'm training for this half Ironman in August, and I guess next week will be week 18 weeks before. And I'm, the body's feeling good. I'm not injured. I'm really making sure that I stay away from sugar and salts, because I do believe the calf injuries and things were caused by adrenal fatigue, and often caffeine, sugar, salts will cause that. So I'm really conscious of staying away from that sort of stuff. And just trying to get back on the straight and narrow. And sometimes I just go, man, go on an extreme diet, get down there, get to that goal. I'm so sick of it's been 6 months of sitting between a minus 30 and minus 35 pound weight loss. And I'm sure you see the charts. It went down, and then it still looks like it's going down depending on the angle that you turn it on. Anyway, that's it for me. Living pain. Have a good one. We will see you tomorrow.